Unraveling, Part 3. I awoke miles away from where I had last been, my body aching, my mind humming with a resonance that was no longer unfamiliar. Fear clawed at my chest, but beneath it was something else, an eerie, inescapable sense of inevitability. I wanted to believe I had simply wandered in my sleep, that this was all a nightmare I had yet to wake from, but I knew better. The world was shifting, and I was shifting with it. I could feel the weight of something pressing down on me, a presence just beyond my perception, watching, waiting. I was afraid, but worse than that, I was beginning to understand. The last of my notes were gone, either taken or erased, leaving only the markings on my skin as proof that I had ever known the truth. I stumbled through empty streets, every shadow stretched too long, every sound carrying an echo that did not belong. Something had changed while I slept. The city was closer now, pressing against the fragile skin of our world, waiting to be seen. I see it even when my eyes are open, its impossible geometry twisting in my periphery, vanishing when I turn to confront it. The hum, ever present, courses through my bones, seeping into my mind like an infection. The world I once knew is coming apart at the seams, and I am dissolving along with it. Time has lost its grip on me, its linear flow unraveling as I slip further into something I was never meant to perceive. I see the city even while I am awake, its impossible geometry twisting in my periphery, vanishing when I turn to confront it. The hum, ever present, courses through my bones, seeping into my mind like an infection. The world I once knew is coming apart at the seams, and I am dissolving along with it. They are close now. The architects do not move as we do. They do not simply walk or shift, but flow, their presence stretching and contracting as though bound by an entirely different set of laws. There is an elegance to them, a fluidity that evokes neither true fear nor reverence, but something stranger, an instinctual awareness that I am in the presence of something utterly beyond my understanding. They exist at the edges of reality, watching, waiting, their forms barely graspable to the human mind. And yet, despite the unnatural way they move, there is purpose in their every flicker, a silent inevitability that fills me with both dread and the terrible urge to understand. They shift in ways I cannot comprehend, existing in spaces I was never meant to see. They flicker between dimensions, their elongated shadows cast from angles that do not exist. I feel them watching me through reflective surfaces, waiting for the last barriers to collapse. I avoid mirrors. I know if I look too long, I will see what I am becoming. The changes have accelerated. My body no longer belongs to me in the way it once did. My hands move on their own, tracing patterns on surfaces while I am not paying attention, as if answering a question I cannot hear. When I sleep, when I am foolish enough to close my eyes, I wake to find myself standing in strange places, ancient ruins no one remembers, my feet covered in dust that tastes of time itself. My voice sometimes echoes, not just in the room, but in places unseen, as though I am speaking across distances I cannot measure. My limbs twitch with the memory of movements I have never made, of rituals I do not remember learning. There is something inside me now, something waking, something old. I tried to go home once, back to the familiar, to reclaim some sense of normalcy. But as I stepped through the door, an overwhelming wrongness settled over me. The air smelled the same, the furniture sat in its usual places, yet everything felt hollow, as if stripped of its essence. My skin prickled with unease, my heartbeat faltering as I moved through rooms that should have comforted me but instead repelled me. Paranoia sank its claws into my thoughts. Was I being watched? Was this even my home anymore, or merely a reflection of it? The walls seemed closer than I remembered, pressing in, silent and waiting. I could not stay. But the place I called home was no longer the same. The angles of my apartment had shifted slightly, its dimensions subtly wrong. My books, my furniture, my belongings were still there, yet they felt unfamiliar, as though I had stepped into an imitation of my own life. The city outside was different, Two people moving just a fraction of a second out of sync, conversations that restarted as though I had rewound time by a heartbeat. It was like reality itself had grown thin, stretched tight over something vast and waiting beneath. I hear the hum everywhere now. It is no longer a distant vibration but an ever-growing force, pulsing faster, more insistent. At first, it was a whisper at the edges of my perception, something I could ignore. Now, it thrums through my very bones, a steady rhythm that syncs with my heartbeat, reshaping the cadence of my thoughts. It is no longer just noise, it is a call, an undeniable summons pulling me towards something vast and waiting. Each pulse drags me closer, and I know, soon, I will answer. Not just in the walls, but in the sky, in the bones of the earth. It vibrates through my teeth, sending waves of unease through my skull. My skin prickles with each pulse, as though something beneath it is trying to push through. Sometimes, my limbs feel disconnected, like they move a fraction of a second before I will them to. The sensation is neither pain nor comfort, just an ever-present reminder that I am not alone, that I am being watched. I try to shut it out, to pretend that I cannot feel it crawling through me, but I know the truth. The hum is inside me now, and it will not be silent. It is growing louder. It vibrates through my teeth, my skull, filling the empty spaces inside me. Sometimes, I swear I feel something answering. Not words, not even thoughts, just an overwhelming presence acknowledging my awareness. I have become something of interest to them, a disturbance in their great design. They are not pleased. I see the others now. At first, I was relieved. Seeing them meant I was not alone in this unraveling, that others had glimpsed the same forbidden truths. But that relief was short-lived. Their faces are hollow, their eyes vacant yet filled with too much understanding. When they look at me, I feel something shifting inside me, as though recognizing them accelerates my own transformation. I try to avoid them, but they always seem to find me, lingering at the edges of my vision, waiting. And deep down, I know that one day soon, I will stop trying to avoid them altogether. People like me, touched by the same knowledge, carrying the same burden. I met one of them last night, a woman with hollow eyes and skin covered in the same shifting marks that now stain my own. She stood beneath a flickering streetlight, whispering to herself in a language I could almost understand. When she saw me, she stopped, tilting her head as if listening to something I could not hear. "It's almost time," she said, her voice layered, as if spoken by more than one mouth. Then she turned and walked away, her form dissolving into the darkness between two buildings. I did not follow. I did not need to. I already knew where she was going. Their eyes are wide, vacant, filled with too much understanding. Some of them whisper to themselves in forgotten languages, their voices layered, fractured, like static. Others no longer speak at all, only watch, their mouths slightly open as if waiting for words that never come. I recognize them instantly, even when they try to hide. They see me too, and we nod in silent understanding. None of us belong here anymore. I have begun to notice the places where reality is wearing thin. Doorways that lead to impossible hallways, roads that do not end where they should. At night, entire streets are swallowed by darkness, consumed by something that does not belong. There are places where the stars flicker in patterns too precise to be natural, their arrangement shifting as though aligning to something unseen. The city is changing, realigning, remembering what it was before us. I do not know how much longer I can resist. The pull is stronger now, more insistent, like unseen hands guiding me towards something inevitable. Each time I blink, I feel myself slipping further, the world around me distorting in ways I can no longer rationalize. If I give in, will I vanish like the others? Will my body become a hollow shell, my voice nothing but an echo of something older than language? Or will I change into something else entirely, something that does not belong to this world? I fear the answer, but more than that, I fear that soon I will no longer care. The pull of the city is constant now, its streets bleeding into my waking vision, its structures towering in places they should not be. It is no longer waiting to be found, it is coming through. I have seen its doorways reflected in glass, its roads stretching beneath the surface of puddles after the rain. I fear the moment when I step through without realizing it, when I turn a corner and find myself in a place I cannot return from. And worse, I fear that I will want to stay. I was never meant to know. None of us were. That was the agreement. That was the cost. But I looked too long, listened too closely. And now, the world is unraveling around me, showing its true form beneath the illusion we have lived in for so long. The cycle is shifting. The architects are stirring. And soon, we will remember. My reflection no longer obeys me. At first, it was a hesitation, a delay in blinking, an unnatural twitch. But now, the thing in the mirror does not mimic me at all. It watches with an intelligence I do not understand. I have draped every reflective surface in cloth, but it does not help. I can still feel it staring through the darkness. The markings on my skin have spread beyond my control, no longer passive but shifting, expanding, forming symbols that pulse with a knowledge I cannot suppress. My fingers twitch, drawing sigils in the air, forming patterns I do not remember learning. I wake up in places I have never been, my pockets filled with coins from civilizations that should not exist. I tried to find help. I searched for those who whispered of forbidden knowledge, the historians who hinted at lost civilizations and buried secrets. But they are gone, wiped from records, their research erased as if they had never lived. I am alone in this. The fate that consumed them is coming for me, too. I have begun leaving myself notes. The last one I found was tucked beneath my pillow, written in my own handwriting but in a language I should not know. The ink had smudged, as if the words had tried to shift on their own, but I could still make out the message: do not listen when they call. Do not follow the lights. You are almost gone. I do not remember writing it, but I know it was meant for me. They are desperate scrawls on scraps of paper, reminders that I am still myself. But each day, the words seem less familiar. They slip through my grasp like water, their meaning dissolving before I can fully process them. And worse, I am finding notes I do not remember writing, written in a language I do not know, warning me of things I cannot yet comprehend. I fear that soon, I will not recognize which messages are my own and which have been written through me. I was never meant to remember. None of us were. That was the agreement. That was the price. We were given this world, this illusion of dominion, on the condition that we forget what came before. That we never search for the architects. That we never recall what they built before we claimed it as our own. I have broken that pact. And so, the world is breaking with me. The unraveling is no longer theoretical. It is happening now. I see it everywhere, the distortions in reality growing more pronounced. Strangers pass me on the street, their faces flickering, shifting between features I do not recognize. Buildings shift while I look away, reconfiguring themselves into architectures beyond human understanding. The sky has taken on a color that does not belong in our spectrum. The air is charged, alive with an undercurrent that makes my skin prickle. I am not alone in this. There are others, scattered, lost, haunted by the same knowledge that devours me. Some have already succumbed, their bodies hollowed out, their voices replaced by something else. Others have vanished entirely, leaving behind only echoes in the places they once stood. I do not know which fate awaits me, but I know my time is short. I no longer dream. I do not need to. The city is not just in my mind, it is here, pressing against the fabric of reality, forcing its way through. The architects are stirring, their designs unfolding once more. And soon, we will remember. We will remember everything. I write these final words in the last fleeting moments of my humanity. If you are reading this, then the process has already begun. The cycle is inevitable. The world is shifting back to what it was meant to be. We were never its masters, only caretakers, placeholders, a brief interruption in something far greater than ourselves. Look closely at the world around you. At the spaces that do not make sense. At the structures that seem older than they should be. At the reflections in the glass that linger a little too long. You may think you are safe, that you are still who you were. But you are wrong. They have already seen you. And now, they are waiting.